My name's Stuart Lynch. In this video, you'll discover how to create stunning, multi-layered app icons for iPhone, Mac, and Apple Watch using Apple's new Icon Composer. Whether you're a designer or a developer, this video will guide you through the essentials of Icon Composer, which is now bundled with Xcode 26. This year, Apple released Icon Composer. And Icon Composer lets you create layered icons out of liquid glass from a single design for iPhone, iMac, Mac, and Apple Watch. With a new multi-layer icon format, you can easily adjust liquid glass properties, preview with dynamic lighting effects, and annotate across appearances mode. Icon Composer is designed to work seamlessly with Xcode and also provides the option to export a flattened version of your icon for marketing and communications needs. There is a download button here at the Icon Composer site, but as you'll soon see, there is no need to download the app if you have Xcode 26 already installed on your computer. Now, first of all, a disclaimer. I am not a designer and would never claim to be. My intent in this video is to introduce you to Icon Composer and how you can add icons made with this new tool to your Xcode projects. I'll do my best to show you what I've discovered and how I learned the ins and outs of Icon Composer. Apple does have pretty good documentation in written form here, and there is a tutorial that was provided as part of WWDC 25 that introduced Icon Composer. Make sure you check out those resources as well. I'll leave links in the description. My take on this is going to be slightly different. I said right off the bat that you don't need to install Icon Composer because if you have Xcode 26 installed, you already have it. If you right-click on Xcode 26, I have a beta version here, and choose to Show Package Contents, open the Contents folder and then the Applications folder, and you'll find Icon Composer there as one of the applications bundled with Xcode. There is no need to go to all of the work to find it though. You can use your launcher app like Spotlight or Alfred and just type in Icon Composer and it'll find it and open it for you. When you do that, you'll be prompted with a dialog to create a new document. You are then presented with a blank Icon Composer document. And I think the best way to explore the properties in Inspector here is to take a look at an already created app icon and then try to recreate it. So that's what I'm going to do. So where do we find an app? Well, fortunately for us, Apple has provided us with a Landmarks app as one of the apps in its sample code library. And you can download the app from this link here. If you open the project folder, you can drill down on Landmarks to the Resources folder. And here you'll find the Landmarks app icon.icon file. If you double click on this, it will find Icon Composer and it'll open the new document with all of the resources used in the configuration for the icon used in that application. So it's a good one to explore. I'm going to start by going through the basics of the interface before we try to recreate this from scratch, more or less. If you click on the icon name at the top, you get to see the background, and this reveals the inspector for the background. This app has a gradient fill, and this auto means that all you have to do is to choose the lower color, and Icon Composer will automatically handle the top color. Icon Composer will always choose a lighter color at the top. Of course, you can choose a different top gradient if you like. Instead of gradient, you could choose a solid color. Or you could choose a system light or a system dark. Let me just undo all of that. At the top, you can also choose a desktop background so that you can see what your icon might look like with different backgrounds. You could choose a solid color, or you could choose from a pattern, and there are a few different options. You could even use your own background. It's totally up to you. Along the left side, you have your Groups and Layers pane, which contains your icon assets. These assets can be either SVGs or PNG images, and the ones here are SVG images. The groups become the layers in the app icon image the platform renders to give the icon its depth, and there can be up to 4 groups, and this icon here uses 3. The topmost layer is the furthest forward in the hierarchy, so I could reverse these clouds if I wanted. Let's move them back. Within each group, you can have layers that can be moved around. Again, the topmost one is the furthest forward. So in the case of these 2 mountains, I could rearrange these 2. The sun happens to be at the same group layer as the mountains, so any properties we assign to the group will get applied to all 3. The clouds are the ones that give the depth perspective. Along the bottom of the screen, you get to see the different variants for your icons. You can see that the first one is what your icon will look on both iPhone and Mac, so both are designed at the same time. I'll show you in a minute if you want to change that. The next icon shows how it will look on watchOS. On the right-hand side, you get to see what the app will look like in light mode, which is the default, in dark mode, and in the new mono tint. And if you're in mono, you can go to the options here between light and dark mode, and you can choose different tint colors. We have already seen by default in the variants that both the iOS and macOS share the same icon. You can click on the platforms icon though and choose Unique, which will give you 2 icons to design. Or if you're only interested in one, you can limit it to one only. If you chose Unique, you get that additional preview for macOS platform separate from the iOS version. But you can also limit your icon to macOS or iOS. You can also choose to not design for the watchOS. The last thing I want to cover in this section is the grid. When you're designing, you can add a grid overlay to the icon. And this comes in a light mode or a dark mode version. So you're in dark mode, you can choose a lighter grid. The remaining options for the interface are best described, I think, if we recreate this icon from scratch. And that will be the light source and the different options that the inspector reveals when we select either an asset or a group. I love getting your feedback, so tap the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video and leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the video and ring that bell to get notifications of new videos. And if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. So what I want to do is to see how this icon was put together. And I'm going to do that from scratch. All I need are these 5 SVG images. As I mentioned, I'm not a designer, but fortunately, if you right-click on the Landmarks app icon and then choose Show Package Contents here, and then open the Assets folder, there you will find all 5 of those SVG images that were used. And they would have been created in some graphics program like Illustrator or Figma or Sketch. Now I'm going to drag and drop them onto my asset pane in Icon Composer for my new icon. Since these were designed with the right dimensions in place, when I drag them and drop them here, they get placed exactly where I want them. And Apple supplies templates for a number of those different design packages that will allow you to create them exactly in place. So those can be supplied to your designer. I'll show you these later. It places them all in one group though. But remember, the clouds were in the back and front in other groups. So I'm going to add 2 more groups. I'll move the front cloud to the top layer to bring it to the forefront. The two mountains and the sun are going to be in the middle group, and the last cloud is in the back group. The problem I see here now, though, is that the center group is showing the cloud in behind, and that's not what I want. But first, let's take a look at the light source. These highlights are not part of the original design. Instead, Icon Composer is showing the light coming from a negative 45-degree angle, and that's the default that Apple feels is the best. But you can adjust this. But I'm going to go back to the default. Now, if you select the first group, the inspector pane changes to display what is possible for all the assets within that group. And here you can adjust things for all the assets. Now remember, I'm not a designer, so many of you will know much more than me about what these options can accomplish in your design. But I can change the color opacity. I could change the blend mode. And for the liquid glass mode, which gives you these highlights, you can choose it to be applied to all of the individual items. And since there's only one asset in this group, it doesn't really matter. We can turn it on or off. For the cloud, I'm going to apply a blur effect, but keep the translucency at 50%. And I'll leave the shadow along the neutral 50%. These are all the default options that Apple offers. I'm going to cover the composition in another example. For the middle, here's where you can see the effect of applying the individual or the combined. Individual is what I want. But I don't want these mountains to be translucent, so I'm going to turn them off for the entire level. And this also brightens up the sun. For the back layer, I'm simply going to add the same blur effect as we did for the foreground layer. Now, each individual asset within the group has its own set of properties too. Here you can apply such things as opacity, blend mode, and turn on or off effects, etc. And each object can be different based on light or dark mode. These clouds look fine in light mode, but not in dark mode. So I can change this to apply a fill to the cloud of a solid color or gradient. So I'm going to choose white for both of my clouds. That's much better. And I can see that mono is fine. Now the last thing I want to do is to change the background. This is a darker blue than the original icon that we're trying to replicate. So if I bring that one up for comparison, you can see the difference. And since auto is set on both, all I have to do is to use my color picker to choose the lower color level of the original and match that and use that on my design. Great, it's done. All we have to do now is save it and give it a name. So I'm going to call mine My App Icon and save it to the desktop. Now there is another option to export the images, but that's different. What this will do is to create a flattened PNG image in the size and scale that you want. And you can also export all variants. This is really good for App Store assets and promotional and advertising for your app. Now you can use your icon in your project. So I'm going to use Xcode 26 and create a brand new app. I'm just going to call it My Great App. And I'm going to move my new icon into the view so that you can see it. All I have to do is to drag it into my projects folder in Xcode, and this will copy the icon over, meaning that the original now does not have to be kept, as it's no longer going to be referenced. The nice thing is, though, if you click on the icon asset in Xcode, you'll get to see it, and it even gives you the option to open it in Icon Composer where you can make edits directly. Now, since my icon is not named App Icon, I have to do one more thing. So I'm going to copy the name of my icon first. Then I go to the App Target and the General tab, and I scroll to the App Icons and Launch Screen section where the string App Icon is right now, and just make sure that this matches the name of your icon without the .icon extension. And I'll make sure that I exit this field. Let me run this now in the simulator on an iOS 26 device. If I exit to the desktop, you can see that the icon is as designed. I can switch to dark mode, and I see that version. If I long press on the home screen and choose Customize, I can tint it to see how it looks with those different tints. I can also check out the clear mono look. Fantastic. One more thing though, what if your app supports earlier versions of iOS? Well, no problem. I'm going to go back to Xcode and change my minimum deployment target to iOS 18. And I'm going to choose an iPhone simulator that I have installed right now, and it's iOS 18.5 for the iPhone 16 Pro. Now let me build and run. This phone is already in dark mode. So when I exit the home screen, I see the dark mode icon. Doing a Command-Shift-A, I get to the light mode, and I see that version. Tinting would also work. If you are a designer, you'll likely use an app like Sketch, Photoshop, Illustrator, or Figma to do your design work. And Apple has provided design resources, and you can find them on this page here. This is the Sketch page. And if you want to design offline using a Sketch app, even an older version, you can download the template using this button. Now the Figma link appears to be broken, but I asked someone on one of these social media apps and they responded and gave me a good link. I'll leave that link in the description. But anyway, you don't have to use those resources. The nice thing about those resources is that you get to export layers where your icon placements will be matched just like those ones that we used in our sample app. Now, if you follow my channel and download the sample source code that I often have, you may notice that I include an app icon in all of my projects. And previously, I've used the fantastic bakery app by Jordi Brun to create those. But now I'm going to be using Icon Composer. So let me show you just how easy it is to put together an icon, even if you have no skill. Now, as you saw in creating the landmark image, all of those assets were SVG images. Well, pig images work as well too. For example, all of my avatar images are created with Bitmoji. So here's one that I have here on my desktop. I can simply drag that PNG image onto my Icon Composer App Icon Assets section, and it'll get imported. And then from here, I can select that image and I can scale it and move it around on the canvas. And I can add grid lines to make sure that it lines up and that it will view properly on both the iPhone, the Mac, and watchOS. Now I can see that the liquid glass effect is applied. And if I turn it off, it loses its translucency as well, which is what I want, but I still want that liquid glass effect. So I'm going to turn it back on. And then I can select the group and remove the translucency from there. I want to add a couple of other layers. And though it's not supported by Apple, you're not supposed to use SF symbols for app icons, I'm going to do that anyway, as I'm just playing around here. So I'm going to bring up the SF Symbols app, and I'm going to search for the cloud symbol. And then I can right click and copy that image. And I'm going to paste it into the folder where my Bitmoji image is. And from here, I'm going to drag it to the asset pane. I want this to be on a different level though, so I'm going to create a new group, which is going to be a foreground group. So I can move it there now, but I want this actually to be in the background. So let me rearrange my group. And then I can select the cloud and enlarge it and reposition it. Let me change the background to a nice orange color. And I'm looking good in both light and dark mode. So I'm going to add a couple of stars to the back using an SF symbol. So I'm going to go back to SF symbols and search for and get a star. I'm going to drag it in. But again, I'm going to create a new group. And this one is going to be in the forefront. Let me scale this star a little bit and position it here to the top left. I'm also going to change the fill to a solid white. Next, I'm going to select the group entirely and remove the translucency. Let me duplicate this now and move the second one to the right. Now, for some reason, this is strange, but it's showing white here in the fill for dark mode, but actually, it's actually being displayed as solid gold or orange. I think that might be a beta bug in Icon Composer. So I can select each star and simply set it to white. That's the image I want for dark mode. Returning to light mode though, on second thought, I don't really want the stars here. So I can select the group in the composition section, and I can choose to vary for default, and this will give me two different options. So I can select that star group and turn off light mode. This leaves it still for dark. And I'm good with the monochrome version as it's the same composition as dark. And double checking, I can see that the watch version is good too, though I don't really need it. I could now save this icon and give it a name. Oops, looks like a crash, but it saved, as I can find it on my desktop and open it up. Great. So I hope I've given you some insight into the power and ease of use of Icon Composer, and how easy it is to design and compose icons for all of the Apple platforms, especially if you were a designer. If you found this tutorial helpful, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. You can subscribe to my channel to get notifications of new videos, and remember that you can also download my YouTube channel listing app for free and quick access to all of my 350 plus YouTube videos. A link's in the description. And also remember, I have a full SwiftUI course available on my Teachable site where you learn how to build a fun, multi-targeted app.